and the moment you tap the accelerator, the motors instantly unleash a surge of power that launches the car forward. Honestly, the throttle response is even quicker than Tesla's. This is hands down the fastest responding throttle we've tested on the channel. The suspension on this refreshed Avatr has been heavily reworked, and the ride comfort is miles ahead of the pre-facelift model. Both the damping and cabin noise isolation have improved drastically. Honestly, up to this point, I still can't see what exactly gives the Avatr 11 the right to carry such a steep price. But compared to the first generation Avatr 11, things have been dialed back a bit. That chunky aluminum link connecting to the lower control arm, now it's just a round steel tube. I've mentioned in my Zeekr 007 GT video before that I'm not a fan of these, and now I'll show you once again why. That said, it's not all good news. It looks like the rest of the links have been downgraded to steel. Hey everyone, so a viewer named KTT left a comment under my Xpeng G6 video asking me to check out the Avatr 11. So today I'm here at an Avatr retail store to take a closer look at the 2025 model and see if it still has what it takes in today's insanely competitive pure electric vehicle market. The Avatr 11 first launched back in August 2022, and the one in front of me right now is the 2025 extended range Ultra version. Here in China, it sells for around $41,800 US. There's also a pure electric version priced between $40,000 and $58,500 US. This might actually be the most expensive Chinese EV I've reviewed so far. It's even $14,000 US more than the full-size Envo L90. So where exactly is all that extra money going? And more importantly, is it worth the price tag? Well, let's find out. The Avatr 11 measures 4,895 millimeters long, 1,970 millimeters wide, and 1,601 millimeters tall, riding on a wheelbase of 2,975 millimeters. That puts it squarely in the mid-size SUV segment. And here's the thing, this isn't just a pretty face. The all-wheel drive version will launch from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.9 seconds. That's supercar level quickness in an SUV, the kind of number you'd normally expect from something costing millions of RMB. Design-wise, it skips the short front overhang trend we're seeing in a lot of EVs. Instead, you've got this long stretched out hood, and around back there's a coupe-style sloping roofline, sharp triangular rear quarter windows, and an active rear spoiler, all giving it a pretty aggressive sporty vibe. But here's where I'm torn. Even with all that sleekness, the front end looks way too tall and chunky, and for me that throws the whole thing out of proportion visually. That thick upright nose isn't just a styling quirk, it actually hurts aerodynamics. The drag coefficient here is a pretty hefty 0.308. That's high, especially for an EV in this class, and it's going to push energy consumption up, particularly at highway cruising speeds. For context, most other pure electric SUVs come in around 0.25, and the refreshed Tesla Model Y is all the way down at 0.22. That low number is one of the key reasons why the Model Y is so impressively efficient. And about that massive light bar stretching across the front, yeah, it looks cool, but it's just your daytime running light. It doesn't actually illuminate the road. The real headlights, they're these dual projector units mounted way down low, almost at the very bottom of the front fascia, and honestly, having them that low just feels odd every time I look at it. Since this one's the range extended version, that lower grille up front isn't an active unit. And if you're thinking, okay, maybe the pure electric version gets one, nope, still not active. What's even funnier is that the cheaper Avatr 07 actually comes with an active grille. And get this, even the budget-friendly Leapmotor B10 has one, and that car costs about 1/3 to 1/4 of what the Avatr 11 does. I mean, at this price point, I honestly don't even know what to say. Right above the grille, you've got a semi-solid state LiDAR unit. Now, most automakers stick their LiDARs up on the roof, but Avatr decided to mount it right in the front bumper, and there are two pretty obvious problems with that. First, it's way more likely to get dirty, which can mess with how it works. Second, even a light fender bender could break it, and that's not the kind of part you want to replace casually. According to some owners, swapping this out will set you back around $1,000 US. And yes, you can expect your insurance premium to skyrocket as well. And up front, the logo's gotten an upgrade too. Gone is the old chrome badge, and in its place now is an illuminated emblem. And it's not just that front LiDAR. Each front fender also gets its own semi-solid state LiDAR unit. So yeah, when it comes to autonomous driving hardware, this thing is armed to the teeth. Now, when it comes to tires, you'd expect a car at this price point to be rocking something like Michelin Pilot Sport EVs, right? Well, nope. Instead, it's running Continental EcoContact 6s, an economy-focused tire aimed more at efficiency than performance or quietness, so they're definitely a step down from the Pilot Sports. Size-wise, this one's on 265/45 R21 tires, front and rear, and if you go for the all-wheel drive version, you'll get 265/40 R22s all around. Alright, let's take a look at the suspension on this thing. Up front, it's rocking a double wishbone setup, and in the back, it's got a multi-link independent suspension. Now, peeking through the front wheel arch, you'll notice something surprising. For a car with such a high price tag, there's no air spring here and no CDC active dampers either. But check out that upper control arm up front. It's seriously beefy, and it looks like it's made of aluminum alloy. Time to call in my good buddy, Mr. Magnet. And yep, no surprise, it's aluminum alloy. From underneath, you can see the lower control arm up front is also a beefy piece of aluminum alloy. But compared to the first generation Avatr 11, things have been dialed back a bit. That chunky aluminum link connecting to the lower control arm, now it's just a round steel tube. And it doesn't stop there. The old model's full aluminum front subframe has been swapped out for a stamped steel one. I was curious to see if the rear suspension got the same downgrade treatment. Turns out, nope. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Back here, everything's gleaming silver, and that chunky white lower control arm really pops. Unlike the front, the rear suspension actually gets a notable upgrade. On the old Avatr 11, the rear lower control arms were made from double-layer stamped steel plates. Now, they've been swapped for aluminum alloy, and the layout has changed too. The old version used an integrated spring and damper design, while the new one separates the springs and dampers for better ride comfort. That said, it's not all good news. It looks like the rest of the links have been downgraded to steel. In the previous model, one of the links and an A-shaped arm were made of aluminum. Fortunately, the aluminum alloy rear subframe has been carried over from the old version, which is a win compared to the front. From the chassis materials alone, it's clear that costs have been cut. That massive front subframe has been downgraded to stamped steel, no doubt bringing the overall expense down. But on the flip side, the upgraded materials and revised structure in the rear suspension should help improve ride comfort. Whether these chassis changes are ultimately a win or a loss, we'll find out later in the test ride and drive section. So what about the body materials? The hood is aluminum, while the front and rear fenders, all four doors, and the upper half of the tailgate are steel. The lower half of the tailgate is aluminum. Overall, the aluminum content here isn't particularly high. Let's take a look at the front trunk. Well, of course, since this is the range extended version, there's no frunk here. Open it up and you'll see the entire engine bay covered in plastic panels, so you can't see any of the components inside. On the pure electric version I test drove though, there's a massive frunk that's easily on par with Tesla's. It's over 60 centimeters long, about 35 centimeters wide, and just under 40 centimeters deep, with a total capacity of 95 liters, enough to comfortably fit a 20-inch carry-on suitcase. Whether it's the range extended or the pure electric version, you'll find a large piece of sound insulation padding under the front hood, which is nice. The rear features a full-width taillight with the license plate frame positioned in the middle of the tailgate, and the tailgate release conveniently located right there, so you don't have to bend down to press it. Above that sits an electrically adjustable spoiler. The rear window is tiny, barely offering any visibility, so there's no rear wiper. At the very top of the tailgate, you'll find two cameras, one for the driver assistance system and the other for the digital rear view mirror. Open the tailgate, and for an SUV, this trunk is pathetically small. Thanks to the coupe-style rear design, it feels more like the trunk of a sedan. In terms of size, it's about 91 centimeters wide, 102 centimeters deep, and only 54 centimeters tall. Aside from two small lights on either side for illumination, the only extra feature is a single 12-volt outlet on the left. That's it. No hooks, no nets, nothing. And the underfloor storage, also disappointingly tiny. Luckily, the rear seats can fold down, which extends the trunk depth to around 160 centimeters. But once you fold them, there's a pretty steep incline, and the spot where it meets the trunk floor has a nearly 20 centimeter step. From the side, the trunk opening is pathetically small, honestly, even smaller than what you get on most sedans. In fact, this might just be the least practical trunk I've seen on any car so far. The charging port is on the left side of the car and the cover is powered. Inside, there's a button to close it and a tiny Avatr logo that blinks green while charging. Since this is the range extended version, there's also a fuel filler cap on the right side of the car. It only requires China's standard 92 RON unleaded gasoline, which helps keep running costs lower for the owner. Since this display car is the high trim range extended version, it comes with fully electric doors all around. I've mentioned in my Zeekr 007 GT video before that I'm not a fan of these, and now I'll show you once again why. When you stand in a normal position to open the door, basically where your hand can comfortably reach the button, the electric door won't fully swing open, even though there's clearly enough space for it. If you want the door to open all the way automatically, you have to stand farther back, but then your hand can't reach the button anymore, and that's exactly why electric doors feel awkward to use. Fortunately, this powered door does have one advantage, that you can open and close it just like a regular car door. It's a bit stiffer than a normal door, but the overall experience is almost the same. For a vehicle with such a high price tag, both the front and rear windows are single pane glass. Honestly, up to this point, I still can't see what exactly gives the Avatr 11 the right to carry such a steep price. The door panel design is pretty standard, using a two-tone color scheme with most of it wrapped in leather, but there's not much in the way of creativity. The ambient light strip above is so dim that if I didn't point it out, you'd probably never even notice there's mood lighting here. One thing I really like is having the seat adjustment buttons right on the door. It's super intuitive and convenient, so you don't have to fumble around the side of the seat. Of course, this setup does cost more to implement, but there's also something I really don't like. The side window defog vent is positioned right along the top edge of the door panel. That means when it's raining and you open or close the door, water can easily drip inside. And if you like to crack your window open for fresh air, dirt and debris can get into the AC duct. Since side window defogging isn't used often, any water or grime that builds up in there could end up contaminating the air conditioning system. Aside from that black section with the seat controls, the rest of the door panel is fully wrapped in leather, even the storage pocket at the very bottom. The white section in the middle has an extra thick, soft padding underneath, which feels great to the touch. Unlike most Chinese EVs, this one partners with a traditional European audio brand, using a Meridian surround sound system with a staggering 25 speakers. That might just be one of the reasons why this car carries such a high price tag. This car comes with electronic door locks, but the switch placement isn't very user-friendly. It's positioned too far away, so you have to stretch to reach it. On top of that, the operation feels a bit counterintuitive since you have to press it twice to unlock. When I first tried it, I honestly thought the door lock switch was broken. The emergency mechanical door lock switch is placed in a pretty reasonable spot. It's right inside the door pocket in a position that's easy to spot. The interior design is probably the most impressive part of this car. It's got a wraparound layout, and right in the center of the dashboard is something truly unique, probably the most artistic design element I've seen in any interior so far. The brand calls it the emotional vortex. Unfortunately, it's all about aesthetics and emotional appeal, offering little in terms of practical functionality. There are 3 screens in total inside the car. Both the driver display and the passenger entertainment screen measure 10.25 inches with a resolution of 1920 by 720. The infotainment screen is 15.6 inches at 1080p, which to be honest feels a bit outdated these days. What's even more disappointing is the lack of a head-up display. Head-up displays have pretty much become standard on Chinese EVs, so it's surprising and a bit unacceptable that a car with such a high price tag doesn't come with one. The central control screen is powered by Huawei's Kirin 990A chip, and overall it runs very snappy. Once I sat in the driver's seat, I noticed another design flaw on the door panel. The window lock and central door lock are both touch-sensitive controls that require a long press to activate. However, there's no feedback, no vibration, no sound, just the button icon lighting up. This means that after pressing it, you have to look again to confirm whether the function has actually been activated. The steering wheel follows the same two-tone theme as the cabin, with black on top and white on the bottom. In the center, the eye tracker comes with a sliding cover that you can close when you're not using driver assist features, adding a bit of privacy. The cabin materials are top-notch, with leather wrapping every surface your hands can touch, which is really nice. The air vents are electronically controlled, but as you can see, the 4 upper vents can't be adjusted up or down, only the 2 lower central vents can. But here's the thing, those center vents can't be aimed directly at the wireless charging pad, and the air vent for the charging pad is poorly designed, sitting way down at the very bottom with just 2 small stoppers to keep your phone from blocking it. This means you can't just place your phone anywhere you like. If it's not lined up right, it'll easily bypass one of the stoppers and completely block the airflow. In terms of cabin smart features, it does support custom if-then scenario modes, but the available triggers and commands are very limited, nowhere near as comprehensive as what you'd get from newer pure EV brands like Xpeng, Leapmotor or Li Auto. The design of the center armrest storage is also quite impractical. At first glance, you don't see any latch or button to open the lid, which makes you think you can just pull it up directly. But nope, I couldn't open it that way. After fumbling around for a while, I finally discovered that the release button is hidden underneath this chrome trim. As for why it's designed like this, don't ask me. Go ask Avatr's interior design team. Once you open the armrest box, you'll find a 12-volt power outlet, 2 USB ports, and even a dedicated TF card slot for the dash cam. The storage compartment under the center console, however, has no power outlets at all. At first, I thought this meant you had to keep all your charging devices inside the armrest box. But later, I discovered there's actually a small opening hidden just below the switch, most likely designed to let you run the charging cables out. As for storage space, this car doesn't have a glove box. That's because it comes with dual zero-gravity seats, and they need to leave enough legroom for the front passenger. When it comes to seating, the front row of this car is equipped with dual zero-gravity seats in a sporty style, featuring the same black over white two-tone design as the cabin. The upper black section is made of Alcantara. The seats are upholstered in Napa leather, which feels a bit firm to the touch. The leather itself seems quite thick, but the foam padding underneath is very soft. Overall, the seats are much softer than those in the previous generation. It's clear that since many owners of the older model complained about seat comfort, the new Avatr 11 has made every effort to improve in this area. So while the seats may look sporty, they're actually all about comfort. Nothing sporty about the way they feel when you sit in them. One thing that really caught me by surprise is that these seats actually have built-in headrest speakers. You'd never guess it just by looking, but they can project sound directly from the headrest. As for headroom, for reference, I'm 1.71 meters tall. With the front seat adjusted to its lowest position, there's roughly 20 centimeters of space between the top of my head and the roof glass. Even with the seat raised to its highest position, there's still about 10 centimeters of clearance, which is more than enough. Looking up, the entire headliner is wrapped in black Alcantara. Unlike many other EVs that give you a single full piece of glass, this one has a horizontal reinforcement beam up front, which helps improve the car's torsional rigidity. You can see that this design clearly follows the styling philosophy of European luxury cars. Later, I looked it up online, and sure enough, the designer is Neder Faghizadeh, who previously worked at BMW. Is this design good? Absolutely. But personally, I still prefer the kind that comes with a powered sunshade. On the bright side, the roof glass is triple silver coated, so the heat insulation should be pretty good. The rear view mirror is a streaming type, and up here on the headliner, there's also a camera for the smart cabin. Likewise, you can close the cover for more privacy. The rear doors follow the same design style as the front ones. On the door panel, in addition to the door opening button, you'll also find the seat ventilation, heating and massage buttons, all very straightforward and easy to use, unlike some cars that make you dig through a rear control screen. Also, the emergency mechanical door lock hasn't been downgraded to a hidden pull ring like on some Xpeng models. Definitely worth a thumbs up. The rear seat cushions are impressively thick, over 20 centimeters, comparable to the sofa in my living room. With the front seat set to my normal driving position, there's still over 20 centimeters of legroom in the back, which is plenty. But there's only a small gap under the front seat, so you can't fully stretch your feet underneath. On top of that, the rear seat cushion sits a bit low, so the front of my thighs is left slightly hanging. In the back, there's still more than 10 centimeters of headroom left, which is also quite generous. Above the rear seats, aside from the grab handles, lights and speakers, there's also a round object. Honestly, I have no idea what it's for. If anyone knows, feel free to drop a comment and let everyone know. On the upper part of the front seat backs, there's a slot where you can mount a bracket to hold a tablet, serving as a substitute for a rear entertainment screen. The rear air vents are located at the back of the center console. The Avatr 11 only comes with a dual-zone climate control system, so the rear passengers can't adjust the temperature or fan speed independently. Below the vents are two USB-C ports, but because the vents protrude outward, they partially block the ports. On top of that, there's no lighting for the ports, so I think that at night, even with the rear reading light on, it would still be tricky to find them and plug in a charging cable accurately. The rear floor is completely flat. Pulling down the rear armrest reveals two cup holders and a small storage compartment, which also houses a USB-C port for charging your phone. However, the seat back can't be folded down to connect with the trunk, which is a bit inconvenient. Alright, we've just gone through every detail of this car inside and out, so now let's talk about the ride and driving experience. First, the ride comfort. Back in 2023, I actually recommended the first gen Avatr 11 to a colleague, and I've ridden in his car quite a few times. That gives me a clear point of comparison. The suspension on this refreshed Avatr has been heavily reworked, and the ride comfort is miles ahead of the pre-facelift model. My colleague's first gen Avatr had a rock-hard chassis with poor shock absorption. Going over potholes would give you a loud thunk-thunk, and the noise level was on the higher side. The new model, on the other hand, feels completely different. Both the damping and cabin noise isolation have improved drastically. Even without air suspension, it no longer makes that harsh thunk-thunk over bumps. Instead, you get a deep, muted thud that actually feels premium. Looks like the switch to a separate spring and damper setup at the rear has increased suspension travel and given the engineers much more room to fine-tune the ride. Honestly, the improvement in chassis refinement really took me by surprise. Now on to the driving feel. The biggest highlight is the throttle tuning. It's excellent. There are three modes: Comfort, Standard and Sport, each with a very distinct personality. In Comfort mode, the throttle response is so soft that even if you've never driven an EV before, you won't end up making your passengers carsick from constant surges and slowdowns. In Sport mode though, it's razor sharp. This test car is the AWD version, and the moment you tap the accelerator, the motors instantly unleash a surge of power that launches the car forward. Honestly, the throttle response is even quicker than Tesla's. This is hands down the fastest responding throttle we've tested on the channel. But now, for the less impressive bits. Even with regenerative braking set to the maximum, it still feels quite weak. More like a light press on the brake pedal than a strong slowdown. It also won't bring the car to a complete stop, so you'll still find yourself using the brake pedal often. As for the brakes themselves, while there are Comfort and Sport modes, the tuning isn't as distinct as it is for the throttle. In Sport mode, it doesn't bite hard the moment you touch it, it's just a touch firmer than Standard. If you pair the sharp throttle in Sport mode with this brake setup, it can actually feel like the brakes aren't strong enough. That could be down to the eco-friendly tires it's running. By comparison, the brake pedal feel in the Zeekr 007 GT is sportier. If you're curious about that driving experience, you can click the link in the top right corner to check out our review. Alright, let's talk about the Avatr 11's configurations. The range extended version only comes with a single rear motor producing 314 horsepower, good for a 0 to 100 km/h time of 6.9 seconds. It uses a 39.05 kWh LFP battery, giving it a CLTC rated pure electric range of just 225 kilometers. For the range extender, you get a 1.5 litre engine paired with a 45 litre fuel tank, bringing the combined CLTC range to 1065 kilometers. Compared with other range extended EVs, these numbers are, well, pretty average. The pure electric version is available in both single motor and dual motor setups. The single motor model makes 322 horsepower and does 0 to 100 km/h in 6.5 seconds. The dual motor model cranks things up to 687 horsepower and cuts that sprint to just 3.9 seconds. All pure EV versions come with a 116.79 kWh NCM battery from CATL. While it supports 800 volt high voltage charging, this card runs on a full 800 volt architecture. And the pack isn't a 5C battery, it's still a 2C unit. In 2025, when 5C batteries are becoming standard even in mid-range EVs, it's hard to see why a car starting at 300,000 yuan would still be offering a 2C battery. I don't know who at Avatr had the courage to greenlight that pricing. So is the Avatr 11 worth its steep price tag? By now, I think you already have your answer. My personal opinion, absolutely not. The sales numbers pretty much speak for themselves. Between July 2024 and July 2025, monthly sales never broke 1,000 units, and in May 2025, they sold just 90 cars. In today's cutthroat Chinese EV market, every brand is fighting to pack as many features as possible into the lowest price point. For context, the base trim of the Avatr 11 Pure Electric starts at 300,000 yuan. The same money could get you something like the Neo Envo L90, a full-size 3-row pure electric SUV. So in reality, very few buyers are willing to pay such a hefty premium just for a unique exterior and interior design. Alright, that's a wrap for today's review. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and share it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!